and welcome to the LEC post-game lobby. I'm Quickshot, joined by Vedius and hopefully Mad Lions coach Mac. I heard that his webcam has just disappeared, so hopefully we'll get him back. While we do try to get Mac back on the line, let's talk about the Fnatic Astralis game. I think the result was expected. I think the play was a little bit fast and loose, as we've come to expect from Fnatic.
I expected more kills, to be totally honest. I thought that it was relative to the last time that they played, it was quite tame. But yeah, I think that what you saw was how quickly Fnatic can get off to an early lead and how aggressive this 2v2 bot lane is for Fnatic. Like, I have been genuinely so impressed with Upset and Hylissang. They are a real joy to watch, and I cannot wait to watch them rematch against Rekkles and Mickey tomorrow, because I think that Hylissang has always been an aggressive player, but the debate has often been around how Rekkles works with him, right? And it seems that Rekkles is always willing to follow him up, and Rekkles is always willing to engage with him.
Right.
But Upset just seems to be like there with him, diving into the backline, making crazy plays. Like, apparently they duo queue a huge amount on stream. They playing non-stop together, and it's like that they treat almost all pro games like a solo queue game in the amount that they're willing to actually dive in 2v2, and the way in which Selfmade then plays off of that, and how he uses the pressure that they generate and the kills that they get. It's just, it's great fun to watch.
It's unbridled aggression from Fnatic, and this new look, it is both a blessing and a curse, right? Because if it's working for you and you can inch away those small advantages, right? You know, this game was pretty heavily in Fnatic's favor, despite it looking a little crazy, a little out there. I did want to ask you about the draft that we saw from Astralis. I chuckled to myself backstage because Moonstone was nerfed a little bit this patch, and LS was praising the Moonstone, you know, predicting it everywhere, anticipating an Enchanter meta. And I asked you the question of, interesting that we get like double enchanters. We saw Moonstone a little bit more today than I have in the past.
You nerf one Moonstone, so you just get two, and then all of a sudden the nerf, poof, gone.
To zoom out a little bit more, do you think we saw enough changes today, like versus what you were expecting?
Well, so to kind of like answer your original question on the comp, I think that the comp does have merit, but there are clear weaknesses, like at level 1, apparently, which apparently if you abuse that, you can like run away with the game. But I think that that comp in and of itself has high potential to be like a very strong teamfight comp. We even saw it a couple times actually catch Fnatic off guard, I feel, and they really had to be careful with how they used their lead. But I think that we will gradually start to see more and more changes as time goes on, and I think that teams will be willing to try different things. Do I think that Enchanter supports are the meta? Not convinced just yet, but we've been seeing a lot less Renekton top lane, which I think then leads to the question of when will we start seeing Ornn again? When will, is Gragas AP now better? If we see more tanks top, maybe you see more Enchanter supports, but yeah, I think that right now, a lot of things seem the same to me for now.
It is always a little bit slow, but I do think like today, a little bit more variance than we've seen in the last few
A little bit, yeah.
Hopefully we can see some more variants. Mac is back. Thank you so much. Welcome. Did you manage to catch the Fnatic Astralis game?
Yes, I did.
What did you make of it?
I thought Selfmade did some pretty serious damage in the early game. I loved the way that he played the Graves. I thought that, I mean, I wouldn't say that it was a cleanly snowballed game. It was a super Fnatic game.
Yeah, that's fair.
To be fair, it's not that easy to close a game against Caitlyn Seraphine. Like, that combination is incredibly good at defending the base with the trap line and things like that. And, you know, Fnatic's comp was relatively short range, so it's always going to take you some time. But yeah, it was a super fun game.
What do you make of the compositions we've seen today? And maybe did you expect, is this more changes than you were anticipating for 11.4? Or, you know, is this pretty much exactly as things are going in scrims?
The big change that we expected was the ADC pool, which was the change that ended up being, I'd say, the most present today, as well as a little bit more kind of priority on Seraphine across the board, which is the pick that I was alluding to a little bit earlier. So yeah, overall, I would say that it was more or less as expected. I didn't see Caitlyn priority being that high, but the champion looks good.
Yeah, first picked a couple of times. I'm going to take you back to a painful memory now, Mac. I apologize. I did want to talk a little bit about the loss to SK earlier today. First of all, like, how is the reaction? And also, what does it mean for you when you consider the stakes where you are in the standings?
I mean, the reaction was pretty bad, to be honest. I mean, we're obviously disappointed in ourselves, especially because we actually don't have many games where we're ahead and then lose. It's not that common for us. So yeah, that one stung a bit. But in terms of the standings and where we are, like, I'm not sure it's something that I'm gonna have nightmares about, put it that way, you know. Like, I think that there were a lot of things that were on display today that were really good from us. Like, our early game was super good, like our vision setup was good, our mid game was good. Like, we just, at this fight that's on the screen now, this fight, like, at this point we're 5k up, and if we don't die at this precise moment, then we're going to start setting up to actually kind of end the game in the next 5 minutes, and then this happens, and when this happens with this composition, the game is just over, right? So this was like a fumble in the worst possible moment that it could happen, but sometimes that happens, right? Like, we're playing a composition that is, you know, like, has to snowball, and that's fine. So that's what we practiced. I think we practiced a lot from kind of 10 to 25 minutes, getting our, like, snowballing really, really clean, but we're not quite there yet. We're not consistently able to kind of drive the nail home, put it that way, and actually end the game, and that's kind of our next step that we're working on now. And that's what you saw today. But overall, in terms of what we actually displayed, I'm pretty happy. And in terms of the way the team is progressing, I'm really happy as well.
I mean, when we take a look at the standings, Mad Lions now 7-5, joined by SK and Fnatic. And crucially, SK own the head-to-head 2-0 over Mad Lions, right? Now, those head-to-heads will become very relevant when we get to the tiebreaker rules. And when you look at the standings, G2 and Rogue, they've increased their lead. But the big story here with your loss today, and of course the fact that Misfits picked up a win over XL, now things are looking very interesting for those lower seeds into playoffs, Mac.
Yeah, it's looking like we're going to have the type of split where teams can make playoffs even with 8 wins sometimes, right? Like, if teams start getting really scrappy and trading a lot of wins in the bottom of the table, then you can have, like, there are so many potential situations available for playoffs right now that, like, Misfits could even make, like, a late season run and qualify with 8 wins, I think, as far as I'm aware. Like, it looks like the maths checks out on that. I have no idea. Not very good at maths.
It does, and the problem is there's so many variables and so many rules to take into account. We actually cannot confirm it 100%, but I do like the way you framed it. Looking at 8 wins is the lowest possibility that we've seen historically. 9 wins. Only one team in the history of the league didn't make playoffs with 9 wins, and it was Schalke in spring 2019. I need to double check that one, but I'm fairly confident Medic said that earlier today. Vedius, I'm going to turn to you before I ask Mac the same question.
Yeah.
What do you make of the differences in strengths in the middle of the table teams? You know, at the top of the day, Medic was painting a little bit of a picture that there was a clear top and bottom for teams in the same standings.
I definitely think we have a top 5 and a bottom 5. Do I think all the top 5 are the same level? No. Do I think all the bottom 5 are the same level? No. But I think that there is a cutoff point once you pass the top 5 teams in skill, in my opinion, at least based on what I've seen when it comes to approach to drafts, approach to execution, and ultimately how they play the game. So I think that right now, who we have in our top 5 standings are our best teams.
G2, Rogue, Mad Lions, SK, and Fnatic.
Yes. I think that right now, those are the 5 best teams. And I expect that to stay that way for the remainder of the split, based on what I've seen. I think that based on how, I'm not sure what the remaining schedule looks like. It wouldn't surprise me if Astralis was competing for a spot in playoffs. It also wouldn't surprise me if Misfits was doing the same.
Astralis at 3-9, Misfits at 4-8. We'll talk about the schedule in a little bit, but Mac, top 5, bottom 5, the perception that Vedius has of the league, do you agree?
I would say that's fairly true. I think there's probably a little bit more chance for mobility around the 5th spot. Like, for example, Schalke can easily challenge for that. I think actually today they were pretty solid. Like we said, they had a really hard comp to execute, and I thought they did a really good job. So, you know, Schalke is potentially a team that might be quite meta-dependent. If they can find, like, their groove, then they can for sure make a late season run as well and challenge maybe us or SK or someone like that, right? So I think the 5th spot is maybe a bit more up for grabs.
When do you bring playoffs into the discussion for the team, right? Because I know there's 6 games left. I know you can't really plan for that, each game at a time. But with the standing so close, and like when we think back to summer last year and how close it went all the way down to the last day, like, when does it come into your mind? When does it begin to impact? And when do you start thinking about those different things?
I try very hard to only focus on either today and what I can do right now, which is usually in practice, because that's kind of where you win your games, or the next match and how exactly we can be best prepared for the next match. My general view is that as long as you are doing the day-to-day correctly, and as long as you're still learning, and as long as you're still making sure that you're setting yourself the correct goals and that you're progressing towards them, then you're going to make playoffs, generally speaking. That's kind of my philosophy on it. So I tend to avoid talking about standings and talking about when we're like whether or not we can make playoffs, or we'll be third place if we go 2-0 this weekend. Like I'm not really a big fan of that, and I try to discourage our players from thinking like that as well, because I think it takes focus off of what's important.
So I am curious though, because last year Mad Lions, you had a lot of rookies, and it was kind of like your introduction to the split, right? Or to the LEC, right? And in your first year, you achieved a lot. You had the fabled best of 5 against G2. You then finished second at the end of regular season last split. And then it was a 4th place finish, I do believe, because you finished behind Rogue, who then finished 3rd, who then, G2 and Fnatic final.
Yeah.
So do you have expectations for like this split? Or like, do you sit there and think to yourself, we have to do better than last year? Or do you think like there are 2 new players, I don't want to set any expectation. Like, I don't know, because for me it would be very hard. If I'm in your position, I'm like, well, I want to do better. We made roster changes with the expectation of improving, and already last year in spring you achieved a lot. Like, it must be so challenging for you as a coach when it comes to like looking forward and what you want to achieve and what your expectations are.
It is very challenging, but I think I don't really see my job in terms of being measured by what I'm achieving, right? Like the success that I have in my career is dependent on, am I preparing my players? Am I making sure that they're developing? Am I helping them grow? And am I sending them on stage with the best, preparation and draft possible to be able to win, right? That's my job. And if I do all of those things correct, then it doesn't really matter if there are bumps in the road along the way. Like, we will get there for sure. Absolutely, there's expectation. Like, there's more expectation this year, especially from the players who were with us last year. It's really hard to then lose to teams who you feel like you shouldn't be losing to, right? Or to not be at the top of the standings again, right? And that's part of my job, to kind of allay some of those concerns and ease some of the tension and remind them that, it's a process and sometimes it takes longer, and that's fine.
One of the things I love when listening to Mac is just how eloquent you are in terms of your role, the expectations you put on your players, the responsibility you bear yourself. And I think the answer that Vedius was looking for will actually come from Mac's boss, because he will be the one setting goals, right? Because obviously you've got the team. But I do like the fact that, Mac is this very grounded individual. It's the process, it's the team, it's the players. Let's take a look at the games on the docket for tomorrow. The middle of the pack will be able to gain some ground in the race for playoffs. I mean, tomorrow, you guys are playing Vitality. You won the last time you met up. Got to bounce back from the loss today. I imagine you're not going to give me any insight on that one. So let's look at the rest of the games. Give me a prediction of where an upset could happen.
Astralis games are always so fun to watch. It doesn't even matter if you think they're favored, it just doesn't seem to matter. I always love the Astralis games. Aside from that, I would say maybe Misfits has a pretty good shot. I really liked their draft today. I thought that they played super well as well. Their early game was mega solid. So they actually have a pretty good chance of upsetting Schalke tomorrow, I'd say.
Live and die by Razork, from what I've been seeing in most of the games on the Rift. Let's talk about Fnatic versus G2. Mac, what is your prediction? Who's going to come out on top?
I think G2 is in really good form right now. I think they are really finding their kind of stride in terms of where they fit in with each other as a team. Obviously, it's not like the biggest change ever that they made in terms of roster, but I think that they're playing at a really good level right now. So I would usually take G2.
Vedius, you're going to be casting the game. Yep. What do you expect will have the most impact on who wins?
Bot lane, 100% bot lane. I think as easy as it is to say that, I just think the bot lane is too volatile for me not to sit there and look at that lane and think that will be the deciding factor. So yeah, I have my eyes fully set on bot lane and the chaos that will ensue in the 2v2.
Earlier today, you had a correct prediction over Kadril in terms of which bot lane was going to be superior in the SK Mad Lions victory.
Yep.
Which bot lane is superior tomorrow? Just tomorrow in that game?
I think Reckless Mickey will be superior tomorrow.
Well, there we go. Okay, that does it for now. I have to do a selfie, apparently, and all of my bits and pieces have fallen off. So let's get this done. Mac, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining the post-game and pre-game a little earlier today. Let's get this one done. That's the selfie camera. I feel like such an old man.
That's because you are an old man.
All right, let's get Mac in there.
A little bit more
Get
that way.
Get that way.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow for another day of LEC. That was it from Berlin. Later, you can watch TSM and Team Liquid face off in the LCS. We will be back tomorrow for more League of Legends. See you then. I'm not going to hit the floor.
Thank you, Mac.
I will wait. I'm not.
G2 versus Fnatic. Woo!
Oh, I look so fat. We've got a very close fight in the middle of the pack, but right at the top, G2 Esports and Rogue, they've opened up a gap from the teams below. They are definitely the clear top 2 right now.
Oh, they really are. I think the fact that G2 are now on a 4-game winning streak, that Rogue continue to improve after their off-season changes, means that we expect these teams to be fighting for those top spots. Coming out from Vander.
1v1, 80 carries.
Almost down. Oh, he fails to flash across the wall, and Mazuk will take the kill. Dan now forced away. Vander flashing in. Gobble up here from Torres. Dan gets knocked back, but this is so bad for Excel. Misfits just picking up kills left, right, and center.
Hillesang's going in again. Oh, again, the CC follow-up. Promiscu just too late on the black shield, and now he's going to be caught out. Instantly comes in.
Yeah.
Oh, the slow motion dunk onto Promiscu.
Oh, Kazi. What's he do here? Because you just get knocked up, knocked back. Underneath the tower, he is stunned up, and it doesn't matter what Kazi tries to do. Treats is having a field day. Treats is having none of this. Treats wants a ball. Here comes Stinks as well. The knockback onto one, and already Humanoid has gone down.
SK will take down the Mad Lions, and it's off the back of their support. Oh, I like this, Mickey.
Oh, that's really well done from Mickey. Comes round, hooks into the knockup.
Onyeka sends a kill. Oh, no.
Elisa put himself up on a silver platter, and the control ward from Mickey.
All right, that's the outplay. Give it to him.
He's styling so far this game.
FLICKR on the bot side with his 2v1 play on Torodne. He can respond with Tearful. Hans gets caught.
Caught out. Perfect combo coming in from Limit, and Hansama instantly just one-shot. But here comes Inspiring. He's trying to one-shot Neon. That's big damage. But now Larson with the follow-up. Are you kidding me? That's still connected. That's one. Looking for two. That's the double. Woo! Graves looking a little strong this patch.